Hi, everybody. Presenting some ideas we've put together about using snaps to improve the experience of a sealing pipeline for SPs. So mostly these are questions to the SPs, as how I'd like you all to see these slides. On is this an idea that you see some benefit in? So you could call it taste testing time. Take a look at these and tell me what you think. So the DSA Golden Gate release provided us with super seal technology that makes it much faster to run a sealing pipeline. But in talking with people, we've learned that you can't do back-to-back runs due to the I/O problem of getting the new data in and the old data out. And it's still rather complex to configure. And this all seemed much simpler if we could find a way to just have it do CC sectors. And there's a technology available for that, and it's snaps. The problem is that snaps cost too much. You wind up making CC sectors, telling the chain about it, loading it with data, telling the chain about it, and storing it, and it's just lots of charges. So we wanted to come up with a way to make this better for SPs. Today, Snap Up, it's just avoided for cost reasons because getting that data in and out of that sealing machine and trying to keep it alive and answering the posts while you're getting it out of the sealing machine, while the sealing machine is doing other work to seal the next bit. It's tricky, and it's a balancing act. And so naturally the result is people aren't sealing, they aren't sealing CC sectors and then snapping, they're sealing finalized data, which takes the already complex sealing pipeline and adds this additional challenge of getting that data in. So we got to thinking, what if snaps were just cheaper? And we visualize it like a soda machine's ice machine that sits up on top. You know, if you get ice, it's working. Old ice is probably all right. You know, very old ice, hopefully something happens with it. And you don't really use the ice until the customer comes up and needs it. So what if we could do that with CC sectors? So the idea is, how would we do this? Well, we have that fast sealing pipeline, but we've got a number of other things that have been floating around, some for a little while. And if we start lining them up, we start to see a picture. The super seal technology can help Snap if we choose to. There is a snark pack for Snap possibility. And there is non-interactive POREP. And this is, it's related to synthetic POREP, which is about to come out. And then what that does is it makes it so that we don't have to keep those sectors alive just because we sealed them. They kind of become like ice in the ice machine. We'll take them out when we need them, right? And finally, if we can have all of those other steps, we could use the snark pack and the non-interactive to, when we're ready to put data with the CC sectors, we have a single message on chain to express the whole thing. And that would be my FIP discussion 765. And so initially, it's going to need that non-interactive POREP, which will enable you to create these CC sectors, but you don't need to register them right away. This process uses more GPU, but less disk. The idea is you'll just have these sealing machines just cranking these things out, offloading them as you choose to use them or at whatever pace you like. And so then the idea is that this FIP proposal on top of these would allow that single message to combine CC data when you're ready to combine it into the snap data into the CC. So why would this do this? Well, with that single message, we would lower the cost. There would be a lower risk for offloading sectors, which will make SP's lives on managing a sealing machine a little easier. These neat, fast sealers that we've shipped already, you'll be able to get more value out of it because they won't be pausing to deal with data flow. And you wouldn't have to have some overhead on those sealers to be handling posts because there won't be any posts to handle on a sealer anymore. So hopefully this will make sealing as a service a friendlier proposition because now you could have a zeroed wallet be doing that. You won't have to trust the sealer with fill. And this kind of opens up some interesting new ways of looking at things. You could potentially offline ship a drive full of empty shells and a zeroed wallet as a viable business. And in a snap-friendly environment, not only the existing CC sectors that were made potentially a while ago, but these new ones all have something we can do with them. So again, it needs the non-interactive POREP. That's really where most of these advantages are coming from, which that FIP discussion includes that these are the potential to be forever sectors. This could allow a completely different view where sealing is just something we do less of, which is nice when it's so heavy. And so I'm interested in everybody's thoughts on this.
Thank you, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question.
Sure.
So it sounds like the proposal here is by doing this CC sector where you have this like additional latency before you have to commit that capacity on chain, you're then able to bundle effectively your capacity commitment and your snap that have happened at two separate points in time into kind of one on-chain published message. The downside I see there is that the Filecoin network isn't aware of that capacity. Maybe, especially if you extend that from like your proposed 30 days to infinite or even for 30 days, like there's a kind of like a gap between when the work is actually being done and when the Filecoin network is aware of it. And I know there is a lot of like the gas costs there are the registration and then the continued kind of overhead required to keep track of that information. I'm curious how we might think about, I don't know, really lightweight ways where we could be keeping track of a CC sector before maybe it's accounting for large amounts of power and, or if there's somewhere in between where the network would be able to be aware of those CC sectors as they're coming online in the ecosystem, and that we don't lose that visibility, because to me it does, for example, like the sorts of attacks that I could imagine is like, well, I amass a ton of CC sectors in secret, and then I suddenly, use a particular moment to like bring them all on the network and kind of like use that as like an increased power attack because I've like held them in reserve, and then I can very quickly bring them all online together. Maybe not. We could probably play with collateral parameters or something related to that. But it seems like there's a loss there. I don't know if there's anyone from the crypto econ outside who'd want to comment on some of the downsides of not having network visibility into new capacity as it comes online, or a reduced incentive to make that capacity available as quickly as possible? Because that does seem like a downside for Filecoin network, like growth and like improvement. I don't know, Nico, if you had thoughts.
I need to think more about it, and also Luca is not here. He's been thinking about this problem for a while, but I think that we already don't have that visibility, because you're already saying that knowing 6 hours in advance will make a big difference. In 6 hours, people can bring as much storage as they want. Yeah, the problem is that these people cannot, they're now required to have a lot of parallel storage, and that's something that we can discuss. But in theory, there is whenever we're gonna have sealing as a service, and that you could seal, say, 10% of the network, 20% of the network in one day or so, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be possible soon. Then the costs are going down, so this is getting even more real and real through time. So that's a concern. That if it is a concern, we need to understand why it is. On the security, there is nothing in the security model that says you cannot bring some certain amount of power as long as it is not 30%. So that's something that we need to understand. No, I understand. What I'm saying is that we shouldn't be worried about non-interactive power. We should be worried about the fact that sealing sectors, it's easier, and so these people can bring the storage real quick, very soon. But the most important thing that saves us is collateral. So if someone wants to bring on the spot a lot of storage, they need to bring a lot. We're gonna have a whole talk on this, like hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I guess my, especially in the forever model, 30 days I feel like is maybe okay, or 7 days or something. 7 days is maybe reasonable and gives you a lot of buffer to do your CC work and then be working to route that CC sector to the data location from your sealing as a service provider to your data onboarder node, get it, snapped in with the data, and then actually committed to the long-term storage provider. So I like the unbundling about that, but saying 30 days or potentially forever, that scares me, because it seems like it might create a lot of potential attack vectors, or just lower incentive for people to actually register their sectors instead of just holding them off chain forever, which means that capacity doesn't count for Filecoin yet. You've done some work, but the Filecoin network is unaware of it, not rewarding it, and it's not accessible to anyone else. And so I would try and shorten that window to what is needed, but what is least risky.
The issue is that you can't sell drives with sealed sectors if it's not forever. And also the cost of sealing is going down, so the incentive is for everyone to onboard it as soon as possible, because the cost of sealing is gonna be going down, because it's getting just more efficient and efficient.
I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to sell drives if it wasn't forever. You would just have to sell fresh drives.
Yeah, but
just like you can only Amazon Prime within a certain.
You get in supply issues, and then you need to argue with Seagate and so on. Oh, you need to sell this in 2 years, and then they need to agree with that, and that's hard. But yeah.
Yeah. Is there a possibility of having a upper limit of the amount of ice cubes you can have, instead of doing it on 30 days? So you can put that limit on 30%, so you're sure that you can't attack the network.
Well,
that would probably require a message, but.
Well, so where are you limiting your ice cubes, I guess, is the question in that model? Are you limiting it in terms of how many cubes can be brought into the network, which means that now there's some bottlenecking that you're able to do of I'm just going to be the storage provider or the capacity provider or whatever we want to call this, that is onboarding all the cubes. And so I'm going to now, monopolize that ice cube entry point and make sure that only my ice cubes get brought in? Or are you trying to limit the number of ice cubes that get created, and then you now have some sort of like control system where you're trying to, like, which probably doesn't work if you're trying to literally sell mining hardware or something?
I just want to say something here quick. This is good enough for having like a whole session. So we could limit the number of sectors that are, let's call it ice cubes, the number of ice cubes that are longer than 7 days. And you could say, if your ice cube is longer than 7 days, there's only a certain amount. And we could even add like an extra fee that is based on market, like the longer it takes, the higher it costs. And there would be, because this sector is probably going to be cheaper than normal sectors, there might even be like a whole market for being in the, say, 100 sectors. I'm saying something random numbers. Say that you have only 100 sectors that can be expired. So you can only have 100 ice cubes longer than 7 days. Then there would be competition to try to get some of those. So it does generate interesting dynamic, and it doesn't break security, because there is nothing about security today that is based on fast changing power. And there's one more thing that I want to say, which is if we were worried about that, we would be worried about Snapdeal in first place. There is a lot of CC sectors, and today, in a matter of an hour, people can 10x their power. And we have storage providers that have CC sectors that we wish they would upgrade them, but they still have not upgraded them. They could totally onboard a lot of storage in this way. So in general, security-wise, I'm not worried. I'm worried about the software. Can the software handle these changes in power and so on? But I think there is many potential possibilities for which we can have drastic changes in power as long as you pay for that disruption.